Hi, the Untitled Church. Well, South Africa has for many decades had soaring rates of unemployment and poverty with resultant hunger. And with COVID-19, this certainly has not helped us as a nation. In fact, it's only helped to increase the need and the hunger amongst us. And not only amongst us as a nation, but certainly the impacts are being felt in us as a church community. And so many right now are finding this to be one of the most difficult times actually in their lives. But you know, the good news is God has put us together as a family. He's put us together young and old, rich and poor, employed, unemployed. He's put us together from all different walks of life and with all different colors of the rainbow to care for each other, to love one another as He has loved us. Jesus has commanded us to love not just in word, but in deed. And as we do this, as we act out our love by showing that love towards one another through generous acts and kindness and goodness towards one another, we stand out in a world where there's much division and where there's much just searching, inner searching and heartache, and where there's much hurt and pain. We are part of the answer, and we can be that part of the answer by our generous and kind acts. Today we're going to focus in on some of the acts of generosity amongst us. Now, it's impossible for us to highlight all of them. In fact, 95% of all acts of generosity that are being done amongst us, between community members, etc., and individuals and family members, is never going to be mentioned on this forum. But it is good for us to tell the stories of one or two, to build faith, to build courage, to build strength in our hearts, for us to continue to do good until we see Jesus come again. So we're going to focus in just on one or two short stories. The first one being Sharon Leyland. It's one of the saints amongst us who at the beginning of lockdown felt stirred in her heart to act and to do something. So let's hear from Sharon.
Hi everyone, I'm Sharon. I'm married to Pete and we've been blessed with two wonderful children. During lockdown, God opened our eyes to the hungry people in our area. As a family, we started putting food packs together and people have donated their time or resources to help. 3 weeks ago, I went on an outreach to an informal settlement near St. Albans. The people were destitute, needing clothes and food. So many of our friends donated, and we were able to bless this community with clothes, bottled water, and food packs. I've been on mission trips to Malawi before, but this is different. When you've met a community who live close by, you can't get them out of your mind, especially when it's cold and raining and you've seen the shacks that they live in. Ladies from our community helped sew buffs for the children, and we've also taken blankets, towels, and warm bedding to them. To see the joy and excitement on their faces brought deeper revelation to the words of Jesus, that it is more blessed to give than to receive, and what you do for the least, you do for me.
Well done, Sharon, man, and your family, and to all those who've chipped in to help Sharon, both from Oxygen and the wider community in Port Elizabeth. Good stuff, man. And then amongst us as a church, as you all know, Jess Marie is acting on our behalf as an eldership team, which in turn is on behalf of you as Oxygen Life Church, to oversee what we call the generosity cupboard. And she will just spell out again and remind us what the generosity cupboard's basic focuses are. But as we listen to Jess, I want to remind you that her efforts and those that are assisting her to pack things and sort things are actually on our behalf as a church. And so when you listen to her victory stories, you listen to stories that effectively, if you've given to this, have been done in a sense for you and on your behalf, which is ultimately on Jesus' behalf. So I hope you'll be strengthened and encouraged as you listen to some of the activity and some of the growth that we've experienced in the generosity cupboard, and which Jess has had to act on our behalf. So let's hear from Jess.
When I think of the generosity cupboard, certainly there are for me three main areas that we have a heart to reach. First and foremost is always the needs within our church family, so within communities, within our meetings, those who are our brothers and sisters in the Lord. Our first port of call is always to be available to them in helping with meeting practical and financial needs. So that would be our first goal. Then our second aim is to be able to be a blessing to the partnering churches in Oxygen Life's field, those in the Eastern Cape, for example, in Queenstown, in Thornhill, and more recently with Pendile here in KwaZulu. And then thirdly, for us to be a blessing within our local Port Elizabeth community to people in need, regardless of where they live or if they know the Lord or not. We really just see across Scripture the Lord's heart for us to love each other well in the church, for us to love those in our field, and for us to seek to be a blessing within the community that we do live in. When the lockdown was first announced back in March, a call was made that if anyone felt led to donate money into the church account just to help in those 3 weeks with people who were facing no work, no pay situations. And we were absolutely blown away by the response and the generosity that flowed. Just over 2 or 3 or 4 days, the money that poured in was enough to enable us to provide food parcels and grocery vouchers for 18 families, which is just incredible that they managed to go into that 3-week lockdown not having to wonder where their next meal was going to come from. And in April and May we were able to grow that amount, so we, as you may see, we were able to feed close to 30 families in April and then 40 families at the end of May, and our goal, which we are well on track to meet, is to be able to provide for those same 40 families again in June. Just for some context, that May month we were able to give out 28,000 rands worth of grocery vouchers into the life of the church, which for me is such a privilege to be able to steward that. And I hope that that builds your faith to know that every 50 rand, every 100 rand, every 10 rand even that is given into the generosity cupboard is sown into the lives and families of those people who you'll see on a Sunday, who you'll see on a Wednesday, and they are able to practically feel the love of the Lord through your kindness, through your donations. Then into our partnering churches in Queenstown with Pastor Ernest Boy at Ark of the Covenant, and with Pendile here in Port Elizabeth, we were able to sow resource in that went into the purchasing of food parcels. With Pendile, we were able to provide 20 parcels, each to feed a large family, so the reach was close to 200 people, and we were able to do that both in the middle of April and again in the middle of May. For Ernest, just practically because of being in Queenstown, we sent through a Checkers voucher which he used to purchase food and toiletries for vulnerable people in their church family. We have a wonderful lady in our church called Sipakazi who's passionate about the generosity cupboard, and she lives in Motherwell, and so we reached out and had some conversations with her and decided, why don't we start in her area, just in her street in the beginning, and help her spread the gospel in her neighborhood using the practical means of food. At the beginning of that, we were able to do 10 parcels in our first batch, which was in March. And then in April, we set a goal that many of you would have seen to double that and reach 20. It's my joy to be able to say we actually managed to do 28 in our second reach out in April. And then in May, we were able to do 36 parcels. Those 36 actually equated to 530 kilograms of food that we managed to fit into Sipakazi's Atos Prime. So even that is a miracle in itself. Each of those parcels should be able to feed 4 to 5 families. So again, we were looking at 150 to 200 people that we were able to reach both in April and in May. Guys, I would just love to say, on behalf of all of us who are working to pack these food parcels, to distribute them, thank you so much. Thank you for responding to the calls, for responding to the Lord's prompting, just for the generosity that I've seen. I think, there's been big amounts come in, there's been small amounts come in. But when I see a donation of 20 Rand given towards Motherwell or given towards the lockdown, my heart, I just feel almost like the joy of the Lord filling my heart, that people are able to see the vision, to see the value, and know my 20 Rand, I'm going to give it, and I know it's going to be sown somewhere faithfully. And I want you to know we use and we seek to use every Rand faithfully before the Lord to be a blessing. Thank you so much.
Jess Marie, thank you to you and all those helping practically. And every one of you is given, as she says, even 10 Rand or 20 Rand, even 5 Rand, it doesn't matter. If you've given anything, well done. May God bless you. I had to laugh at the story about Sibakazi's Atos Prime. 530 kilograms of food. That is absolutely crazy. I don't know how you guys did that. And well done for purposing what you have for the Lord. I think there's a lesson there for every one of us. Let's continue to look at what we have. Look at what we and how we are able to assist and help, and to make it available to the Lord. And He will bless you. It is more blessed to give than it is to receive. That is what Jesus tells us. Friends, bless you. And in these difficult times, may you find God to be a provider in every way. Let's remember, with God, all things are possible.